But this four-dimensional matrix that I mentioned accounts for $30 trillion of digital knowledge work. 30 trillion. This is my job, your job, every human's job in front of a computer. My hypothesis is if you master all four, multimodality, reasoning, tool use, and coding, you can do anything in front of a computer.
Yeah, I agree with
What
that.
we are doing at Turing is massively scaling up the data factory that can generate the data to power the models to automate every cell in this four-dimensional matrix.
Hello, fellow data nerds. My guest today is Jonathan Siddharth. Jonathan is the co-founder and CEO of Turing, a $2.2 billion AI company that provides coding and reasoning data to train frontier models for OpenAI, Google, Meta, Anthropic, and many, many others. He's a second-time founder. His first company, Rover, was acquired by Revcontent in 2016. Jonathan, welcome to World of DaaS.
Thank you, Auren, for having me. It's been a fan of the show and I'm excited to be here.
Okay, I'm super excited as well. Now, you've kind of said like the bottleneck for AGI progress and just like, AI progress in general. It used to be compute and data, but now it's human intelligence. Walk me through, like, when did that bottleneck happen, and walk me through like why human intelligence is the bottleneck now.
Yeah. So there's something very exciting happening, right? Like as we're heading on this race towards superintelligence. So to get to superintelligence, you need three things. You need innovation in algorithms, model architectures, which the frontier labs do a phenomenal job of.
Yep.
You need innovation and scale up on the compute side. And you need innovation
and power and all that stuff. And
correct. Power, energy, yeah, absolutely. And then you need innovation and scale up on the data side. So Turing powers that data pillar. And our mission is to accelerate superintelligence in a way that drives real economic progress. We want it to show up in the world in terms of something that moves the GDP of the world. So we want to accelerate superintelligence in a way that drives real economic progress. And we do that in two ways. On one hand, we work with all the frontier AI labs to build high quality data to help them improve their models in a wide variety of to do a wide variety of cognitive tasks. And on the other hand, we are working with enterprises. We work with some of the largest financial institutions in the world, media companies in the world, to help them build what we call proprietary intelligence, like basically end-to-end AI systems to solve real enterprise problems, automate enterprise workload.
But walk me through, like, is there particular, like, okay, so, OpenAI has been talked about. They're hiring investment bankers to come in and like go through like the actual deal process or something. And other folks are brought in, emergency doctors to help, understand particular, are we talking about like that type of thing, like to get like super high level?
That is exactly right. I think of it, Auren, as a four-dimensional matrix. Think of the first dimension as every industry you can think of: financial services, life sciences, healthcare, retail, etc. The second dimension is every function in an organization, like software engineering, product management, sales, marketing. The third dimension is every role in the org chart in that function. For example, if we index into finance, there's the CFO, there's the director of FP&A, there's the head of accounting, etc. The fourth dimension is every workflow that a human does. For example, a CFO goes through the workflow of preparing board materials or goes through the workflow of preparing monthly
And why can't we just like watch their computer while they work or something?
What
and then
we don't.
Okay, well, okay,
I'll
maybe
get
we
to
do.
that in a second. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But this four-dimensional matrix that I mentioned accounts for $30 trillion of digital knowledge work. 30 trillion. This is my job, your job, every human's job in front of a computer. And if you add in robotics, we're talking $110 trillion market, right? But if you let's look at the digital knowledge work, like work humans do in front of a computer. A human looks at a computer, looks at the screen, analyzes data, is thinking, using different tools, using a keyboard and a mouse to drive action, like pixels in, action out. I see like the fundamental building blocks here to be multimodality, your ability to process audio, video, image input, including textual input, reasoning, tool use, and coding. My hypothesis is if you master all four, multimodality, reasoning, tool use, and coding, you can do anything in front of a computer.
Yeah, I agree with
What
that.
we are doing at Turing is massively scaling up the data factory that can generate the data to power the models to automate every cell in this four-dimensional matrix. And you can think of a human doing a role as a composite of workflows. And you can think of a function as a composite of humans in that org chart. And you can think of a company as a composite of all the functions, right? And we have these two wonderful learning paradigms for imitation learning and reinforcement learning. Both have very different data needs. So we've built a talent platform. And on top of that, we've built a data platform that powers generating data for imitation learning and RL and reinforcement learning for every cell in this four-dimensional matrix. So we are hiring investment bankers, doctors, lawyers. We have to replicate their entire work environment, set up a system where we can we set up we create when we get into RL. If you're interested in RL, we can talk more about it later. But it's such a fascinating area to and these models are so data starved today because all the easy gains from like eating the internet, eating all the books that humanity has ever created, that's done, right? That knowledge has already gone in. And companies like Turing are creating data with these expert humans working inside realistic work environments to generate data for these models for like these different learning paradigms. And who knows what new learning paradigms we'll invent in the coming
And if
years.
you think of just like a simple consumer task, if I say to my assistant, hey, go buy some shoes for me, she knows how to go and go buy some shoes for me and she can go do it. If I say to an AI, go buy these shoes for me, even if I tell exactly what shoes, like I don't get the shoes. Like it doesn't like know how to get my credit card, doesn't have to go log in and go do like it's so simple. And so like why can't like even some like the basic stuff get done today?
Yeah. So are you into Star Wars, Auren?
Yes.
I was about to say your lack of faith in deep learning is disturbing. I was joking. But you're asking a good question. The answer is not yet, but they absolutely will, right?
Oh,
So
for
let's
sure they
break
will.
down your
But why?
example.
Like, I'm so mad that it was not here now. I mean, and again, like maybe by the time we release this podcast, it will be. Like, it's. I know it's happening fast, but
Yeah, yeah. But let's I'll get to your question of why these models are not able to do it today. But let's back up a little bit to see how these models are actually trained at a high level first, right? And then we can see where the gap exists.
yeah,
So these models first are there is the pre-training step where these models are fed the entire internet, and the model is building a base model that learns how to autocomplete. It's learned some rich representations of the world. And then there is post-training. In post-training, there's supervised fine-tuning, and then there's reinforcement learning, where we hire human contractors to teach the model how to have a conversation, single turn, multi-turn. And then humans are generating data to train a reward model um, that helps the model know what's the type of completion a human will tend to like. Um, and for something like code and math, which are these verifiable domains, the model is capable to do reinforcement learning, where it can figure out which paths tend to result in a reward, which paths tend not to. For the example that you gave, it's actually not as simple. You asked the EA to go buy shoes, right? Was that in your example?
yeah,
Was that?
yeah.
Think of all the implicit knowledge your EA has. Your EA needs to know what's Auren's foot size. So that's why memory is important, or having
Yeah.
some access to knowing what your shoes,
Yep.
what are the parameters of the shoes that you have to find. Second, ideally the model also needs to know what are Auren's preferred brands. Maybe Auren likes Nike more than Adidas.
Yeah.
A little bit of that would be good to know. But then the model needs to master tool use. In this case,
Yeah. Go to
knowing to use the
Amazon or
browser,
wherever, go to a browser, go do this
use
stuff. Yeah.
Google, use Amazon, and
Yeah.
maybe like
And
don't go.
that's where it's really terrible today. Like it just really falls down
Correct.
often.
And a good human will also know that inside Amazon, this seller looks a little bit sketch, not enough
Yep.
ratings, two
Yep.
star. This seller is like much more, seems much more reputable.
Yep.
Um, you do a lot of research, and then maybe there is an Adidas store that's open near DC, If the model is really smart, it might then go and download maybe the Honey browser extension to see if there are some discount codes or coupons.
Yeah. That'd be great. Right. Yeah.
Do that, and then it would
Yeah.
need to know where does Auren live so that I can ship it there.
Yep.
Maybe have a conversation with the person who's selling the shoes to see if there's a sale coming up nearby. Maybe it's figuring out a lot of stuff. But
Yep.
everything I shared with you, Auren, again goes back into the 4 pillars for superintelligence that I mentioned.
Yep.
Multimodality. This required like looking up images of shoes,
Yep.
understanding what's on the screen, talking to a human. That's multimodality. Reasoning, to be able to come up with a plan. What's my algorithm going to be? My algorithm is going to be, let's figure out Auren's shoe size. Let's figure out Auren's brand preferences. Let's figure out Auren's budget. Let's figure out how soon Auren wants it. You have to know what questions to ask, right? A good EA will acquire additional context before going off and doing things. So that has to be taught to the models. And then there is tool use that I mentioned. And then coding. You might wonder, why does coding need to happen here? Let's think for a second. I don't know. Maybe, and this is a bit contrived, but maybe there is seller A and seller B. Seller A has like lots of reviews, but maybe in recent times the reviews have not been really updated.
Yeah.
But there's like an up and coming. There's one person rising with like a high slope, right? Imagine like Yelp's rating algorithm to like figure out what's really good. So maybe it'll write some Python code to figure out which seller to prefer with like a complicated algorithm.
Or what to buy, or or something like that. Yeah.
That's right. So the models cannot do this super well outside of the bat, outside of like immediately right off the bat, because in the internet tokens that these models have seen, this reasoning chain simply doesn't exist. Unless
Yeah.
there was an EA that wrote a blog post on how do I get shoes for Auren, right? Like it doesn't quite exist. Which is
It's
why
interesting because like I found that like just in the last month or so, like Gemini has gotten really good at complex travel things. Complex flights, complex other things. I still don't think that the OpenAI or Anthropic models are yet there. But they're just kind of, so you can kind of see these things just like slightly moving. The problem is for people like me, and I think for probably most of the audience that are using these AI tools, is even every day as the AI gets better, every day our expectations of the AI grows faster. And so there's this delta every day of what we expect versus what it can deliver. And so it's constantly underperforming because we expect it so much better than it is.
Exactly right, Auren. And I would say that today we're actually hiring EAs as well, right? So the problem you're talking about, trust me, it's getting solved over time because there are master EAs who are like, we're distilling their human knowledge and skills into these frontier models. And the same reasoning chain that a awesome EA would go through to like know what questions to ask you before starting off, what tools to use, how do I analyze results, it's all going to get baked in. It's only a matter of time. In that 4-dimensional matrix that I mentioned, I could have had one more dimension for like consumer, and under consumer there could have been like travel or personal shopping or some of these other verticals. But it all boils down to multimodality, reasoning, tool use, and coding. If you teach the models that, you get everything. To your second point, Auren, on how as these models keep getting better, our expectations of them keep growing. I'd say there is a flip side to that too, which is when we work with enterprises, we see significant model capability overhang where the models are actually capable of so much more than what enterprises are pulling from them today. So there's like, if you pick like an underwriter working at an insurance company who has to process unstructured information and convert that information into a score for this person as high risk, medium risk, low risk, this is what the insurance premium needs to be. There's so much that can be done with like good system prompting and user prompting. And then the next step being teaching the model how to use different tools. And the next step being maybe a good RAG system that the model could engineer its context to be better. The next level being supervised fine tuning. The next level being using reinforcement learning to post train. There's so much stuff that these models are capable of, and we are still scratching the surface. So I'm excited for the reverse direction too. Like I personally believe like if all the frontier AI labs halted AI progress today for some crazy reason, right? there is still a ton of economic productivity we'll
Oh, for
unlock.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even, even people who I know are like really at the frontier of pushing their organization, we're still less than 10% of what we could be doing just with the current stuff.
Yes.
Just because it's all so new and we just haven't had the chance to retool our companies and retool our processes and, et cetera.
Yeah. And the thing I find,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah.
One thing I find really cool, Auren, like it's kind of like intelligence is an API, right? Like that's what this is. Intelligence is an API. But it's a weird form of alien intelligence that's different from human intelligence in that it's a composite of different humans in like different domains. For example, when you're starting a tech company, let's say you've hired a designer to design your web app. Normally, humans kind of I mean, that designer will probably spike in design, but that's about it. But when you're working with a frontier model, you get the best designer's intelligence and the best UX web developer's intelligence, and then the intelligence of perhaps a psychologist or a marketing or persuasion expert. You get all of that baked into that API call, right? So it's kind of amazing that we have like this composite intelligence as an API that's like human intelligence in every dimension baked into like one set of weights that we're getting, which is remarkable, right? Like it's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah. Now one thing just really irks me is how bad recommendations are. You would think, okay, one thing we can do pretty well is recommendations, and it seems that Meta and Google, Google on YouTube, Meta on like Instagram ads and stuff like that, they do a really good job on recommendations. And everyone else, and maybe because they're like developing the technology natively, but everybody else from Amazon, suggesting what we should buy, to Spotify suggesting what we should listen to Netflix suggesting what we should watch. Everyone else, their recommendation system is absolutely atrocious. And they don't actually do a very good job today. It doesn't seem like it's that hard. Is it just because like it's just not in their business interests to do it? Or why are the recommendations, even just ads that you see on the internet, are so bad? Like, why have people not moved to make the recommendations better?
Yeah. So you're right that the recommendations inside apps don't seem to have improved in any significant way. I've I've been pleasantly surprised by how good LLM based recommendations are with in context learning.
Yeah,
So
for
today,
sure.
when I want a
Yeah.
recommendation, like I will literally. So here's a weird query that I do. I would, um, I would, I basically do in context learning with like few shot prompting. So with like a frontier LLM, like let's say you're using GPT 5.2, I would give it examples of, hey, I like. Here are some cars that I like. Here are some cars that I don't like. Or here are some books that I like. Here are some books that I don't like. Give me recommendations. And give me recommendations that I otherwise might not have discovered. So I give all sorts of crazy constraints.
Yeah.
And I've
Oh,
actually
that's
found
awesome.
those recommendations to be much better than exactly as you say, recommendations inside these siloed apps.
Yeah.
And I will say like there was one researcher I met at a frontier lab who told me like when they worked with one of the music subscription services, when they used an LLM to do recommendations, those recommendations were way better than just looking at features from the song. Like there's the old
Yeah.
school supervised machine learning way of doing it, right? Like come up with features, do supervised machine learning,
Yeah.
use like collaborative filtering or simple
Yes,
vector
I'm sure. I
machine.
mean, I think a lot of them are still just using collaborative filtering.
I
Like,
don't know why they are
yeah.
though. Like I think it's
Yeah,
just
I
inertia. Like
agree.
I don't.
Maybe it's just they don't want to throw the compute at it. I don't know. Like, because collaborative filtering is cheap, and
Yeah.
they don't think people care or something. One of the other things that's like going on right now, and this is, to me, this is very interesting. Is everybody everywhere in that AI stack is running like crazy. Everyone is competing. Even if you think of Nvidia, like they're just moving at such a fast pace, and they have all these really amazing competitors who are competing as them. They're all moving fast. If you think of OpenAI and Google and Anthropic, like they're all just moving at such a crazy pace, and all they could be irrelevant a year from now, because it's just such a fast game. And even if you think of Turing, same thing, right? Like you guys are like constantly moving up the stack. Maybe back in the day, it's like we were trying to decide, like, okay, is this a cat or not a cat? Or, if you think of like a long time ago when we were kind of doing this kind of supervised learning, and now we have to move and then like, it's like, if you don't move super fast, like you could be out of business in a year, right? Like how is it like just competing in this world? This is
Auren,
not like the old SaaS world.
You can see me
Yeah,
drinking a Red
you're
Bull.
drinking a Red Bull, right?
It's 1 p.m. And like it is conventional wisdom might say don't have caffeine after noon, but whatever.
Well, yeah, because I know that you haven't taken like almost any vacation in the last 7 years. It's like, that's just the life we're in. If you want to run a company like this, like it's insane competition, right?
Insane competition, and I think when I think of like how to reconcile that with like Peter Thiel's view of like avoid competition
Yes.
for losers, like build a monopoly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
The way I
Doesn't seem like there's
reconcile
anything like that in the AI world yet. Maybe an Nvidia on the side or something, but
yeah. So at Turing, I think very intentionally about how to avoid competition and how to build compounding loops. And one loop we have is, because unlike like other data labeling companies, we are actually not a data labeling company. I see ourselves as a superintelligence accelerator, like NVIDIA. And what we do is we are in the frontier AI. We are in frontier AI labs, as well as we are also in enterprise AI. Serving the frontier AI market teaches us where the frontier is and makes us an excellent partner for enterprise AI companies. And being in enterprise AI actually shows us where the models break in practice. Like your EA example, like where the models actually break, like when they don't do the job, which informs us on what type of data needs to go to frontier AI to help them improve. So one reinforces the other, and we have this data loop that this platform is amplifying. Both of this is powered by our talent platform and our data generation platform. And I think the way you compete is by having like a really high learning rate. Like you have to learn faster than anybody else. You have to have an organization that has a high learning rate, and you have to acquire.
Just to dive in your model, okay. So you have a person in some ways, or you have a system that's interacting with your corporate customer. Let's say it's a auto company or something, right, over here. And somehow you need to like get that information from that customer, which could be like an offhanded remark, or could be like watching them use the product or something. And then you have to get that to your other side where you're dealing with the frontier. Like that is not an easy thing to do.
It's a little simpler than that. So for example, Auren, like one thing that we're doing is for some of our financial services clients, we are working on building systems that automate the end-to-end workflow of like a private wealth manager.
Yeah.
And even there, it breaks down into multimodality reasoning, tool use, coding.
Totally,
right?
yeah.
And the sequence of tools that they're using, and stuff breaks. And it breaks in like really dumb ways. Maybe the model couldn't understand a PDF document where a table spanned multiple pages, say.
Yeah.
Or it couldn't quite use a certain tool that a human private wealth manager was using, or when it was looking up data from a dashboard, it was making some mistakes.
Yeah.
Us knowing how these things break in the real world helps us figure out what type of data will these models need at a higher level of abstraction, what type of failure patterns exist that we can package up into data sets, obviously not using any of the enterprise's data, but we know that there's a failure pattern with reading PDFs this way, or when your output has to be a presentation, it makes these dumb mistakes, or when you have to do some math to do DCF and to value companies, you're making some mistakes. It teaches us what type of data gaps exist. and helps us come up with data sets that actually help AI models do real world knowledge work well. There's this interesting paper, Auren. I don't know if you've did you get a chance to read like the GDP Valve paper from OpenAI?
I don't think so. Yeah.
So I'd recommend it. I'll text it to you. It's like a really good piece of work on um, evaluating how good the frontier AI models are today at automating real world knowledge work, where
Yeah.
the artifact is something that a human expert actually creates, like a civil engineer creating a blueprint for like a building they're about to build, or a movie production scheduler coming up with like a schedule for how they are going to
Yep.
shoot a movie,
Yep.
real artifacts. And I think it's a good step in the direction of like, how do we get these things to work in the enterprise, like to actually do real work, right? If I were a pessimist, I would say that not. I guess I'm not a pessimist, but my spicy take is last year. If you look at what did generative AI really transform in the enterprise, I would round it down to almost zero in terms of like stuff that actually meaningfully changed the P&L of companies.
Yep.
And I don't think it's the model's fault. I think the models are insanely capable. I think there's a lot of first mile schlep, last mile schlep involved in building these systems to work. For every single workflow, you kind of have to build a cursor for X that's designed for partial autonomy, have the right human backoffs, have the right set of evals. And we are building that. So our goal is to like get these models to work in the enterprise, learn from that, use that to figure out what type of data can we sell to the frontier AI labs to help them improve. And as the models improve, we're going to go solve real world problems with it. So on one hand, we're like an input to frontier AI, and on the other hand, we are sort of we want to drive like superintelligence deployment.
Now, you've talked about how like SaaS is dead. Like, walk us through what that means. What's the implications of that, and kind of what comes next?
Yeah. So there are two ways in which I think SaaS is dead. The first way is, I think, um, as these. So if you think of like typical SaaS software that most users use, it was built in an era where complex software was hard to build. In many cases, AI powered applications were hard to build. Imagine if you were building like um, a chatbot to do um, sales support on your website.
Yep.
You wouldn't dream of building it yourself because you'd want. I mean, the company
Right.
that's building it probably has to raid Chris Manning's lab at Stanford to hire some computer science NLP PhDs.
Yep.
They'll spend 6 months collecting training data. They'll do some feature engineering. They'll come up with some different models that they'll test. They'll probably do some active learning and continuously keep updating these models. It'll be a big R&D effort. And it's amortized, and then like the benefit is for like customers of that company to just plug that in and use it.
Yeah.
But now with uh, all applications being AI applications are benefiting from AI in some way, and the intelligence being pushed down into the foundation model layer, like in the weights of the foundation models people build, it's become easier than ever to build LLM applications like wrapped around these models. So as the cost of creating custom software tends to zero, I think more and more what we'll see is software engineers working at companies building these internal tools themselves, building lots and lots of custom software. It'll be easier to build. They can customize it however they want. And there'll be less of a need to buy third-party software. So that's one. Second, I also feel like a lot of SaaS software was designed in an era of human consumption when humans are navigating menus and GUIs and taking action. But in the era of computer use agents and tool calling agents, where an agent is using these software, I don't think these tools are really designed for that. I mean, computer use agents will be like a good bridge, but I think like we'll see a lot more um, tool calling agents that automatically call the right APIs to take action. So I think like the current way in which these products are built is going to change.
And there's so many of these SaaS companies out there. Um, what would your advice be to these CEOs and product leaders at these companies? Is it just to give up and join a company like Turing, or
I'm trying to think. I feel like they have to definitely, if they are building, I think they should. If you look at the space, Auren, like on one hand, the models are becoming more and more agentic. So every
yep.
frontier model is becoming more agentic, where it will take action, execute complex multi-step workflows in a real-world business setting by itself. Especially if it's a computer use agent or a tool calling agent, it'll start operating your computer and being you, right? So some things will get blitzed by the model layer. Um, and then there are cases where there's the other side where um, my hypothesis is these enterprise companies will build some of these will have smaller models fine tuned on their own proprietary data that distill their own human intelligence into the models, with companies like Turing helping them build end-to-end AI systems, like their own internal versions of ChatGPT for like automating different workflows. So that will happen. Like we'll kind of arm them as well, like the enterprise AI companies. So that leaves like a middle layer, like when somebody's going outside for like a point solution for like one specific agent to automate it. It feels like a red ocean to me. Like just when I was like driving on the 101, like I see like 5 billboards for like AI to automate sales or like automate your
Yeah.
SDR. Like it's just like a red ocean. So I would like take a leaf out of like the Peter Thiel playbook. If I were channeling, I mean, you know Peter very well. If I were channeling Peter, my guess would be like he probably doesn't look at a pitch that says agents or or an AI agent for X. Like he probably like would filter it out. Um,
One of the things about these SaaS companies is some of the big ones right now, they're and maybe it's like a short-term way of shoring up revenue. Like they're not allowing agents to interact with them. They're kind of staying away from things like MCP. They're saying, hey, you have to have, and so, they're trying to like double down on that model, maybe because they have to like meet their quarterly goals, et cetera. But it does seem like you can only hold a dam so much before it bursts.
Yeah, that's right. And I saw this interesting company called Humane One. It's a company based in Saudi Arabia, where I saw like a demo of a system where their approach was um, their approach is like basically to own the system of record. I mean, if you really think of a SaaS application, it's like a UI layer wrapped around a database in most
Yep.
cases, like whether it's
Yep.
Salesforce or Jira or stuff. But if you had access, if you controlled the ground truth data, could you have like a, um, a collection of agents that just interface with the human, right? And what would sort of that clean slate approach look like? For example, if I were looking to kick off a rec for hiring for like a reinforcement learning software engineer, right? Today, what I would do is I would talk to our head of recruiting. They'll say, "Hey, do you have a JD?" And create a JD, and then they'll have it. They'll talk to a recruiter. They'll spin it up. They'll start a search. But in the future, the way it could work is I could talk to an agent and say, "Hey, I need a RL engineer." It'll ask me, "Okay, sure. Let me look at Turing's knowledge base and write a custom JD for you." And the agent already knows what type of oral work we do. We build oral environments for automating enterprise workflows. So it could create like that JD. And then it could ask me, "Hey, can I update the website with this?" Done. Boom. That it's updated the website with this. And then it could say, I'm scanning your email now. Whenever you get anybody apply for this role, I've also pasted it on your LinkedIn. Again, tool use. Like it's maybe gone to my LinkedIn and pasted the job. When somebody applies, it'll automatically archive the email, and the agent will tell me, hey, Jonathan, there's a person ready to interview. Shall I have them take the first screening test? And they could take the first screening test. And after that, hey, this person is ready to chat with you. I've set up something on your calendar. Do you want to talk to them tomorrow? Yes. In this whole interaction, again, it's the same for building blocks, Auren. Multimodality, reasoning, tool use, and coding. I didn't use Greenhouse. Heck, I didn't even use a whole recruiting function. I just spoke to an agent. As long as it's maintaining a database state of like candidates, who's in process, you have to maintain that. You have to have a data schema that's tracking who's applying, what are the different jobs. Today, it sits in, I'm sure for many companies, it sits in crazy spreadsheets or in like Greenhouse or an ATS. This is what I mean by SaaS is going to die. That Greenhouse lever type company I don't know how they'll survive. Like if somebody goes direct to the source and owns the data layer. And everything that I just said, you can apply it to sales. You can apply it to Jira, like project management. You could apply it to so many different things if you control the data layer. So that company Humane One is doing some interesting work where their approach is, they were following an approach of like if somehow you could have access to the data layer, then it's just data and network of agents and then the user, right? And that's it. You don't need any SaaS software in the middle. And you could have like your own custom on-prem version of all of this, right? Like that's...
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Turing's a profitable company, it's $300 million revenue. By the way, the disclaimer, which I forgot to say at the beginning, is I'm a Turing investor, very happy Turing investor, by the way. Why have you decided to kind of run it profitably? Like, was that a conscious decision? Like, how do you think about that as kind of going forward?
Yeah. So we hit profitability a while back, and we used that to demonstrate to ourselves that this is a business with great unit economics.
Yeah.
We are not profitable today. We've now again stepped on the gas.
Now you're starting to accelerate again.
Yeah. But now we know we can do it. Like now we had to prove it to ourselves. And
why did you have to prove it to yourself? Like why was that like a psychological thing, or what was it about that you had to do it?
So my goal with Turing is to build an enduring company that could last for decades. Like I grew up admiring companies like Google, SpaceX, Tesla, Apple, these generational companies that just last forever. So I'm not a fan of raise for the next round and then the next round and the next round and then like try to sell like I want to build an enduring and generational company. So I kind of had to make sure that the company's unit economics were sound and that we could actually do this. And so that was the reasoning, because it wasn't clear. I mean, this model, this industry is so new and so nascent and changes so fast that it's, I think like we wanted to do that test. Now we are stepping on the gas. I see like our goal here is to accelerate superintelligence in a way that drives real economic progress. The GDP of the world has to improve. And we are fortunate and privileged to work with all the best frontier AI labs that are working on this incredible technology and working with the best enterprises in the world that are incredibly forward-leaning in adopting it and having that flywheel between both. And I think, like I said, it's like a $30 trillion market in terms of like, if you look at services in general, right? Like anybody doing any type of knowledge work in front of a computer. I'm also incredibly motivated, Auren, like of the idea of unleashing humanity's untapped potential with superintelligence. Like I feel like AI is like the equivalent of the autonomous Iron Man suit, like from like the more recent movies where you could have like digital surrogates of yourself that could go and do different tasks. Eventually, we may have physical surrogates. I feel like if you had 100x the productivity, if I had 100x the productivity, we're not going to like chill in a beach and like drink Mai Tais. Like we'll probably run 100 companies. Today, I'm running one company. If I'm 100x more productive, maybe I'll run 100. Elon might run like 1,000 companies, right? Like
yeah. You may already be.
Yeah, you already be. So
What
I feel like
a random question to you about branding.
yes,
So I love the name Turing. Um, I like it because it's both a name after a person, kind of like Tesla is a name after a person, a famous person who invented, really exciting, interesting things. And in the Turing is also a verb in a way, right? It's also describing something, that we talk about the Turing test, and that maybe now that's somewhat obsolete. I love that name. Like, was there a conscious thing, like in the branding when you're thinking about naming the company in the beginning?
absolutely there was, and I love the name because a Alan Turing is um, regarded as the father of computer science, the father of artificial intelligence. Like the name is sort of synonymous with artificial intelligence. And especially when you think of the Turing test, it touches a flavor of AI where you don't know whether you're interacting with a human or an AI.
Yeah.
And I think that's the future that we're going to head towards, especially if you want to accelerate superintelligence to achieve real economic progress. I think in the future, we're going to get to a point where when you're getting something from somebody, you won't know whether you're getting it from a human or an AI. In some sense, the AI is going to make the human better, the human's going to make the AI better with like a continual learning, continual fine tuning loop over time. And we're going to get intertwined. And I love that as like a nod to Turing with these foundations in computer science. It also helps that um, the the Turing machine like can
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So I like the nod to the
It
Turing
has it
machine.
has all the things going for it, like
Yes,
kind of like
and the
Tesla. I
Turing
mean,
Award, right? Like for computer
it's
science, like
it's
we're the
two
best software engineers.
syllables. It's six letters. It's simple. It's easy. People have heard of it before. Like I like these kind of, like, I think these the names, especially, like, names are actually really important sometimes in companies, and often you see these companies like way overcomplicate things. Um, and I feel like sometimes they could be like, the company itself could be way better if they just had like a better name.
Yes, yes. Yeah, my first
Uh,
company did not have a good name. Like I did go through the loop of like changing names like a couple of times. It didn't quite feel right. This I kind of remember where I was. Like I was driving on Page Mill Road in Palo Alto, and Turing was number one, and the number two name was like something like 10x or something like that. It's also one of these things where like the gap between number one and number two is so vast. Like number two
yeah.
and three were like so lame compared to like number one. And I'm really happy we got the name too.
I love it. All right, two personal questions that we ask all of our guests. What is a conspiracy theory that you believe?
I don't think AI will um, automate um, people out of a job, like in the sense of like all of these, like that $30 trillion of knowledge work
Yeah.
that I mentioned, like with multimodality reasoning tool using coding, you'll get there. I think it'll all be human in the loop systems, and I think people tend to conflate a super intelligence with like self-driving cars, like where kind of the car's driving itself, no humans required. I think humans will always be required. I don't know if that's a conspiracy theory. What's a crazy conspiracy theory they believe in?
Well, in some ways that is. I mean, it's like you're it's an anti-conspiracy theory,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
which is really good. All right, last question we ask all of our guests: what conventional wisdom or advice do you think is generally bad advice?
Micromanaging is bad. I think it's important for leaders to be in the details. I think you should. I think there's a conventional wisdom that when you're running a startup company, you hire a great team and get out of the way, or you build an exec team and operate with leverage. I think you should build a great team, push them hard, but be very close to the ground. The truth kind of lies with people writing code and people talking to customers. So you should always be talking to customers or being close to the people who write code or write code. So not operate through layers, but like operate flat and be comfortable being. Um, if somebody doesn't say that you're micromanaging or like, hey, can you back off? Like maybe you're not leaning forward strongly enough.
And obviously, if you have like 2,000 people, like, you got to kind of pick your spots or something. Like, I'm sure like a Tesla, like, yes, Elon Musk is quote unquote micromanaging, but he's jumping into a particular thing? Is it finding like that? Okay, there's this point in the supply chain that we've got to jump in, and we got to or is it just like walking around and seeing things and then just jumping in? Is it picking the little things or picking the very big things, or how do you think about that, with your own time?
So
Because
it's
you can't jump
definitely
into
not.
everything. Yeah.
Yes, it's exactly what you said. It's usually in a company there is like a 99-1 or a 90-10 in terms of the most important bottleneck that needs to be solved. And I think the CEO should be hands on with the team to solve it.
Yeah.
I don't mean being in the details on everything, like that doesn't scale.
Yeah.
And
And in
I
some
think
ways,
I heard,
that means you're parachuting in to
yeah,
something, and you need to quickly get up to speed, and then you kind of move to this next thing somewhere else.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And I think I read this about Elon somewhere that like every week in one of his companies, he picks like the most important problem that needs to be unblocked or solved, and he works with the team to solve it.
Yeah.
And that's like I think it's more like a T, not like you're not going deep in everything. It's like you're
Yeah.
going very deep in the one thing that matters. Like for example, right now I have three things that I'm focused on. Actually, it's too many, but this week I have like three things that I'm going to solve, and that's all I think about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. One of the other things I think these really good CEOs are doing is, if you think of like the things in the company, there's like these like really, really big things, and it could be like that big unblock, or it could be something like super strategic. And okay, that's a great place where the CEO can be. Then you have like all the middle things in the company that need to happen, that are important, that need to happen. Um, and then you've got these like you have the little things. And what I find is like the good CEOs are doing like obviously they're doing the big things. They're never doing the middle things, and then they jump into the little things, because like sometimes that's a very good way. If you see something going wrong with the little thing, that's a very good like culture thing, and other way of like, okay, let's fix that, because that's indicative of something else somewhere else.
I like that framework. It's like kind of like a barbell. And I also think of it the same way. Like I sometimes focus on some of the little things, not because of that one thing. I think of the generating function that generated that one little defect. And I'm
Yeah.
using that as like a spot check to fix the generator. So that like then, because we don't pay attention to that, slop can creep in across the board. So you kind of have
Yeah.
to, the
It's like
mistake.
that classic kind of thing. I always think it's like the Van Halen contract, where they talk about the green M&Ms or something.
Oh,
And so if you can just like look into this one thing to inspect this one thing, then you realize, oh wow, that means that so many other things weren't followed.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly right.
Uh,
And,
this has been amazing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
one last thing, Auren, like that I also this is like a recent revelation that I had is like I think it's important for CEOs to enjoy themselves, like to enjoy the act of operating and executing on the company's mission. I think when you enjoy your day to day, like work is fun. This is like
Yes.
what a blessing to be working on this. I think it's infectious and it sets the right energy and tone for the company versus the CEO feeling like, oh man, this is a grind. Let me grind through this. Let me endure. So I think I used to only optimize for like outcomes. Like I got to make sure we hit this revenue milestone or this profit milestone or this growth milestone or this valuation milestone. Now I also optimize for my inner enjoyment. Like I want to do this like while having fun doing this. Like
And does that mean like, okay, there's a certain things you just like make sure you don't do, or there's certain types of people that I need to make sure I have around me, or like what does that optimization mean in practice?
So it means every day I do like a check-in to see what was energizing today, what was draining today, and I get curious about why
And
this was
sure,
draining.
is that like a calendar audit where like at the end of the day you're like, that meeting sucked or something, and or whatever, or
It's an energy audit.
yeah.
It's like a calendar audit, but calendar audits I do for time. This is an energy audit, but it's very similar concept. So I actually track it in a spreadsheet. What was my enjoyment score today? And natural
And you
language.
kind of remember that at 10 p.m. You remember what your, overall your energy score was or something, because maybe at 11 it was a.m. it was great, but at 2 p.m. it was bad or something, or
I'm sure it's not perfect, but the
Yeah.
prompt I ask myself is, what was my overall enjoyment level today? And so I have like one means something, two means something, three means something, four means something, five means something, and I write it down. It's a vibe thing, so I'm going off of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what I
Yeah. I
remember,
love
and I'm
this.
okay
Yeah.
optimizing for that. And then I think of like what was my peak moment? What gave me the most joy today? Like which meeting?
Yeah.
Like what was I doing? Right. And I also think about like what was the most draining, and I use that as to get curious about what happened. Like, what is it because this project is off track for this reason, or do I not think this person is scaling? So I use it to like get curious about how do I edit it and fix it. So every single day, I'm taking a step forward to like making things better, and it puts me in the headspace of being a little more present. So some people, I'm sure, look at their breathing and stuff. I instead look at my enjoyment levels. Okay, am I
Yeah.
enjoying this meeting? For example, right now I'm enjoying this meeting with you. So
That's awesome. I
there's a
love it. Yeah. Yeah.
there's a loop in my head that's going. Auren's conversation was really great, right? Like as
Yeah.
I was having it. So I try to do that, and I feel like it fuels me, right? Because it's running a company is a little bit like in the NBA, like you want like a championship season, but you shouldn't just optimize for like the time that you're lifting the trophy at the end of the year. I used to do that, and what would happen is we had a great quarter, and I'd be happy for like an
Two
hour, and then
seconds.
think of the
Yeah.
next quarter in the
Yeah.
party,
Yeah. Totally.
right?
Yeah.
And but now what I do is I'm like fucking enjoying the game. Like this game
Yeah.
is awesome. Yeah. Oh, Surge is doing this. Murker is doing this. That's interesting, right? Like the but Turing's doing this. That's great. Like I like what we're doing. I like what OpenAI is doing. It's like playing, operating with a sense of joy and a sense of innocent
I
wonder.
love that. And it's infectious. So
Yes.
it's a virus, right? And
Mhm.
but the other one's a virus too. If you're not enjoying it, it can be a virus pretty quickly as well. But just like laughter is a virus, like people having fun is a virus, just like getting excited, like having wonder, right? All those types of things. Just like when you're around those types of people, and of course we take cues from looking up as
Yes.
well. So some if I had a tough day or whatever, it's just like you want that kind of like it's there is both like a happiness kind of thing you said, but there's an energy, and
Yes.
maybe that's why you're down on those Red Bulls and stuff, and but there's an energy level that's so important from the leader.
That's right. That's right. Auren, have you read this book, 11 Rings?
No.
So it's a book about Phil Jackson, who
Yeah.
coached the Bulls to like six
Yeah.
championships and then
Yeah.
Kobe and Shaq for like five. So he talks about this idea of this lesson from tribal leadership, where there's like five stages in culture, where there's a stage one culture, stage two, and stage five. And a stage two culture is superior to a stage one culture, and so on. In his mind, like a stage one culture is a group of people characterized by a collective belief that life sucks. And that's like, some of these drug gangs and other groups of
Yeah.
drug gangs, street gangs, etc., sometimes have that. A stage two culture is my life sucks. I mean, you can think of it like The Office, like other people
Yeah.
have a sense of apathy. A stage three culture is a culture where I'm great and you're not,
Yep.
characterized by like lone warriors. And he talks about like
Yeah.
Kobe and the Lakers, like where it's like one person is like you against the world. A stage four culture is a team which is like we are great and you're not, where the
Yep.
team will rise to meet the level of their adversary. And he spoke about many of the Lakers championship teams were like that. But you're defined by your competition. And he
Yeah.
said there's a rare stage, a stage five culture, where the team is characterized by a sense of innocent wonder and a feeling that life is great. And
Yeah.
he
I
Bulls
love
Chicago
this.
98, right? That was like the last dance Bulls, right? And my goal for Turing is to be that, like a stage five culture, like life is great, where you're not thinking about the competition. You'll give a high five to your competition, but you'll meet them on the battlefield and enjoy beating them.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. This is amazing. This is a great place to end. This is amazing. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us, World of DAS. But I follow you at JONSIDD on X. I encourage our listeners to engage with you there. This has been a ton of fun, super great. I really appreciate you coming on.
Great. Thank you, Auren. And for your listeners, if they want to learn more, they can go to Turing.com and check us out too.
Absolutely. Turing.com as well. Thanks for listening. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to World of DaaS wherever you consume your podcasts, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and more. And please help us get discovered by leaving a review. And check out worldofdaas.com. That's worldofdaas.com. And of course, connect with me on Twitter at Auren. That's AUREN. Would absolutely love to hear from you.